Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us here at FinTech Talents North America. My name again is Theodore Lau, founder of Unconventional Ventures. Now, for this session, we'll be talking about one of my favorite topics, the intersection of financial services and longevity. Since the early 1900s, we have gained an extra 30 healthy living years. We've been changing how we work and where we work, and we have also changed how we earn a living. But yet, what about our relationship with money? And for financial institutions, my question to you is what is your relationship with your customers as they get older and as they enter and exit different life stages? Let's start by introducing our panelists. First, we have a longtime good friend of mine, Ramsey Owen, President and CEO at the National Council on Aging. Ramsey, would you like to tell us a little bit more about your career and NCOA's mission?
A pleasure. Thanks for having me, Theo. So I'm proud to return to the National Council on Aging, an organization that is near and dear to my heart. This is my second tour at NCOA, a national nonprofit focused on improving the lives of millions of older adults, especially those struggling. My career has been nonlinear. I've had many opportunities to look at issues related to finance, having been at wider opportunities for women, spent some time at AARP on the global stage, looking at global longevity trends and the impact and implications for financial resilience. And also at NCOA, my first tour of duty, overseeing all of our economic security programs. I'm so pleased to be bringing this experience to bear now as the new president and CEO, where we're really looking to ensure that we are offering programs, services, and directing our policy advocacy to ensure all can age well. They have access to the health and economic security they deserve. We're really elevating the conversation around aging well as the social justice issue it is. So pleased to join you in today's conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ramsey. And next, we have Holly Pontizo, Vice President of Customer Experience at Scotiabank. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. I feel it's a real honor to be here with Ramsey today to talk about this important topic. My background at Scotia is leading our digital migration to a new platform where we designed it for simplicity for all of our customers, including for seniors. So this has been a really important topic for us. And of course, over the last year, it's been even more important as COVID has really driven changes in consumer behavior. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you, Holly. And thank you both for being with us. We do have lots to talk about. And may I add one thing? All three of us, we have something in common. And yet, this is not a women in fintech or women in finance panel. So I am thrilled about that. Before we start, though, I do want to remind an audience that please put your questions or comments in the chats as we go through. We'll try to respond as we can. So now, first, the stats. And we all know it, right? 10,000 Americans turn 65 on a daily basis. Imagine the visual. Every 2 days, United Center in Chicago, SAP Center in California, being filled with people celebrating their 65th birthday. Lots of birthday candles. And by 2024, 1 in 4 American workers will be 55 plus. Now, it would seem to be rather obvious that we need to reframe the notion of getting older and living longer and what that means. I mean, I remember a colleague of mine and Ramsey, she used to tell me, we all get older the minute we were born. Seems the truth. But yet, if you do a Google search on aging, most of what you would see is that of physical decline. And time again, we keep hearing people referring to the notion of digital natives and how old people do not use technology. Worse, they put the entire cohort of over 50 into one single bucket, as if all of us live a homogeneous life with all the same needs and the same life experiences. So, Ramsey, would you like to kick us off with a little bit of that myth busting?
It would be my pleasure. Absolutely. You think about it, we've got 78 million boomers in the United States, and they are aging their way, new and different nonlinear paths. We have 90 million millennials that are aging their way. We're all experiencing things differently. We are taking time for caregiving, going back to school, having job transitions, having children later, first time home purchases later. Everything looks a little bit different than it may have for our grandparents. This more non-linear experience is allowing us to live life our way, to experience the needs in terms of what we would like to achieve in life, that fulfillment, that purpose, crafting our own path and navigating it our way. But we need products and services that can better help us do just that. And it's not just individuals that are aging today. The average 10-year-old is likely to live to be at least 100. And so, what we should be taking from this new normal with older adults today is an opportunity to revisit how we create products and services and recast them for the new normal. No longer is it a three-stage life where you spend time getting your education, working, and then retiring with the golden watch. To the contrary, we're moving in and out of different career paths, caregiving, lifelong learning, as individuals today and future generations will have the same experience. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, we're all far more reliant on technology. We've all learned Zoom and FaceTime and Blue Jeans and every new platform in the book. And that goes for older adults too. They're jumping online for various reasons, to connect with family, to connect with community. You have senior centers at the National Council on Aging that have moved all their programming online, and older adults have jumped to it. According to Pew, 42% have adopted smartphones. 67% of older adults have internet access. It's a basic need now, like water and electricity. And even more so, the dollars, the money follows the need and the interest. You've got a longevity economy where individuals over 50 stimulate $9 trillion worth of economic activity, 7.6 trillion of which is a direct spend. And what's really powerful is when you break down the numbers and look at what they're spending on technology alone. In 2018, $140 billion in technology for themselves, for their loved ones. And by 2030, that's expected to increase to $270 billion worth of direct spend on technology. We really need to look at this opportunity and make sure we're crafting products and services that meet the needs of this demographic that are experiencing the new normal and want to use the latest, greatest technology.
I can't agree more. I remember recently I read a report from the UK that talked about how so many older adults are jumping online and they're creating their own master classes and teaching people, the life skills that they had. And so this notion of people are scared of technology or they're reluctant to try something new cannot be further from the truth. And Holly, I know that you had some reports from the bank as well to share about the changing customer behavior.
Yeah, we really believe that these widely held fixed views of seniors are really a barrier to serving seniors, as it often leads to really a misinterpretation of their needs and wants. And I think that's a trap that we can fall into. As some of the great stats that you mentioned, Ramsey, seniors are getting online. Seniors are shopping online more and more. We saw that in banking as well. So during the pandemic, we saw a 200% jump in mobile banking registrations, and a lot of those were in the seniors category. And we've also seen that a recent survey from Novantas said that only 40% of customers are going to go back to branch banking. What we saw at Scotiabank was we saw obviously a massive lift in mobile banking registration and in online banking registration, and the majority of that growth was from seniors. So I see it as our responsibility as a bank, to make online banking more accessible. And what we did to do that was through education, sort of overcoming some of the barriers to entry, such as fear of security. That's one of the big ones in our senior population. So it's about sort of finding the barriers to entry on digital banking, and helping seniors as one of our key groups that we serve at Scotia.
Thank you, Holly. Now, I cannot begin to recall how many times I've been told by both incumbent banks, startups, or even investors that solutions that cater to older adults are a niche. Worse, I've been told, actually, by someone who shared the stage with me on a panel, that their bank don't design for old people. I've also been told off stage by a banker, we already have their money. Why do we need to do anything for them? To me, I think that's a missed opportunity. And I think we can all agree on that. When we think about older adults and longevity, the opportunity to serve isn't just about older adults themselves, right? It's the wider care circle, people that are taking care of them, the paid and unpaid caregivers, family caregivers, friends, neighbors. A quarter of these caregivers are millennials. So it's not just about annuity. It's not just about retirement. It's not just about that $1 trillion of wealth transfer, but a broader opportunity from planning and saving, decumulation, safeguarding assets, and what have you. And it's not just about one goal, it's multiple goals over the life course. And Ramsey, I learned this from you. So, as a nonprofit, what is your message to the financial services industry, startups or incumbents, and what would you like to see happen?
I think the pandemic is an incredible opportunity that really lays bare the importance of putting the consumer at the center. Because you're absolutely right. Individuals have different needs, and it's a key moment in time to make sure we're really listening and understanding the different pain points, the challenges, the life moments that individuals are experiencing, and what they need in order to ride out the inevitable volatility of life. It's not if they're going to have a financial challenge, it's when, and how they have the tools and resources to provide the resilience that they need in order to ride it out. Women are a great example. I think typically the financial services industry has seen women as risk adverse. To the contrary, when you really listen, when you really unpackage it, women do have those multiple goals that you talk about, Theo. I want to be able to save for my children's 529, take care of my parents in old age when they need in-home services and supports. I want to make sure I have the resources I need just in case that day comes when I have to hold the burden on my own, whether it's divorce or loss of a spouse. And I want to leave a legacy. I want to transfer wealth. So I have these multiple, often competing goals. And so it's an opportunity for financial services and fintech, because it's so nimble, to really begin to unpackage what those needs are and put the consumer at the center and design more flexible, relevant, culturally competent tools that can meet our needs in light of our new normal, which is volatility is inevitable. We need to build our own resilience, and we need to think holistically about all the assets we have, financial and non-financial.
And there's definitely a role that financial institutions can play. So, Holly, let's talk about that senior center at the bank. Curious to know what prompted that program and what does the bank plan to achieve with it?
Yeah, and I think what Ramsey's touching on is the feeling of empowering our customers to take control of their finances and to bank themselves and to build up the confidence to have the courage to overcome some of these challenges and to ask for help. And the reason why we put together the Senior Center is because we recognize this need in the seniors group. So we have a whole array of supportive information that's crafted specifically for seniors, ranging from how to get the most from modern banking channels through to avoiding fraud, frequently asked questions from seniors, and really managing your money best during, especially during this COVID crisis. So it's about building confidence, it's about building trust and helping them to transition online and to get the most from their banking services. The other thing that we did that was important during the past year is we launched Bank Your Way, which is an information portal that helps customers set up their online and mobile banking for the first time, and then learn a lot of the many tasks and transactions that they can now carry out through their digital devices. So they can do things like learn how to check their balance, learn how to check their account history, And it's building up this basic confidence in how to bank that leads, this demographic to overcome some of these challenges. And I think even when branches, and our life returns to normal, I think these types of skills will stick with our seniors, but we will still see them coming into the branches to get great advice face to face from our advisors. So it's about building confidence. It's for information, informing them. We know that there's a high level of fraud, online fraud with our senior customers. So it's really about building that confidence to be able to manage, the volatility that Ramsey talked about.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's about meeting your customers where they are, right? It's not so much so always just one channel versus the other. There are many different tools that we can use, right? From in person to, using digital tools that we can use to service our customers. Now, Holly, you mentioned COVID, and Ramsey, you too. And COVID has a disproportionate impact on communities of color, on women, on older adults. One of the questions that we often have now, it's been a year into the pandemic, and hopefully we see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We need to start thinking about, how do we build back better? How do we create a more inclusive and equitable future for all? And how can we get people to flex and continue flexing their creative muscles and develop more inclusive solutions for this big growing cohort that's often misrepresented and underrepresented? Holly and Ramsey, I want to get both of your take on it. What are some of the things that banks and fintech startups can do? What are some new initiatives that both of you are embarking on? And how can we ride this momentum and help the different communities recover and recover better? And Ramsey, you want to start?
Great. Well, the pandemic certainly has laid bare those longstanding disparities, and there's such an opportunity for financial services to work with nonprofits that have deep, deep community ties to the populations that were disproportionately impacted. Older adults, over 80% of those 60 the deaths due to COVID were those 65 and older, disproportionately communities of color. And that's a result of long-term issues in terms of access to public health, access to income and income supports and assets. And community-based organizations that are deeply connected to these populations have long known that and are interested in co-creating with industry new accessible tools and resources to help build that income, build those assets that can provide that resilience and that buffer in some of these challenging times. COVID's been an incredible accelerant, whether it be adoption of technology due to online groceries or telehealth or just connecting with family via various platforms, but it's also been an accelerant in demonstrating public and private partnerships. At the National Council on Aging, we've partnered with various private sector leaders to create the Age Well Planner. AgeWellPlanner.org is a platform that we've made available to help individuals assess in a very comprehensive way the variety of complex issues they're going to need to navigate as they age. And to ensure they age well, we've curated this decision support tool to help with the information and the activation needed to make the right decisions. We've worked with private sector leaders, we've worked with nonprofits. We deploy through community-based organizations, including senior centers, area agencies on aging, and directly to consumers. And it provides that accessible, free platform for individuals that are looking for trusted and trustworthy support as they navigate the inevitable complexities of aging. We need more public-private partnerships. We need more innovations. We need more culturally competent digital platforms to help individuals because they're out there often on their own and they need help cutting through the noise.
And Holly?
Yeah, I think we've really anchored our customer experience around advice, and we believe that everyone deserves personalized advice to meet their financial goals. So, by focusing on really this core concept of advice for all, including communities that are underbanked, we believe that we will open up and deliver for all of our customers from an inclusive perspective. On the digital side, we're really focused on delivering banking experiences that are simple, that are safe and secure, solutions that solve all of our customers' immediate concerns and help them improve their financial fitness. On the branch banking side, we're really focused on inclusive hiring to make sure that the people that we hire is reflective of the communities that we serve, in all ranges of diversity. And I think over the coming years, we really want to foster that human to human connection, and particularly in a COVID environment where people aren't coming into the branch as often as before. So we're looking at things like video technology and connecting folks securely through digital channels to have more in-depth discussions than they might be traditionally used to. And I think this all relates back to building the confidence of our customers to bank with us, but also to come in and speak with us, because we know that in order to give great advice, we need to connect human to human with all of our communities, including the underbanked, to provide them with the solutions that they need to be financially secure and to have a great financial plan in place. So we're really looking at the future, being very collaborative with our customers, via all of our channels to enable that financial advice and helping solidify the financial future of all of our communities.
Holly, what you just said resonated with me. I recently heard from a credit union in the US that mentioned that when it comes to building personal relationships, right? When it comes to giving advice, even younger generation, and she cited a study that even the Gen Zs, they would prefer to do certain transactions in the bank branch in person because you cannot replace that human to human connection. And a lot of times, being able to see someone, being able to touch someone, that's what built the trust. That's the handshake. And that doesn't change with the screen. I wish I could, reach through the screen right now. But, so I think I really do like what you just talked about, the aspect of inclusion, diversity. It's beyond gender, it's also age. And it's the perspective of including people and what's important to them as your customers. Um, what would be your message, Holly, to our audience, since that's fairly diverse from different, positions in financial services, different roles, when it comes to creating digital solutions, right, for older adults and caregivers? What should they keep in mind?
Mhm. I think it's about thinking about accessibility as a wide spectrum of human capabilities and experiences. And I think if you are really open and you challenge the internal biases that many of us have, and I think seniors fall prey to this, especially challenging those biases to be open to really truly understanding our customers' needs, it will lead to better solutions, whether it's digital or in branch. And then the second thing is we're really focused on designing accessible banking experiences through an inclusive design approach, which is very iterative, very collaborative with many different customer groups. And what I think one of the good things about COVID is that it is pushing the financial services industry to break through those barriers between remote and digital, between for different accessibility needs, because we can't have people coming to the branches as often, and to really challenge ourselves and push ourselves to deliver for all of our customers and to think through what that means today, which is very different to what it meant a year ago. And that's why digital design and thinking about inclusiveness and accessibility is critical for seniors and for serving all of our customers and in all of our communities. And it's really, really important. And I challenge all of the banks to think this way, to put away your internal biases, to really think through customer need, and use that as the foundation for development for your products, and for how you serve your customers.
Thanks, Holly. That's your call to action to our colleagues. Ramsey, before we close, I have two things. One is I recently noticed the equity premise that NCOA has put together is one of the most favorite things I've seen. It seems so, it's something that we should have been doing all along, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the reasoning of why you put the equity promise together and what it is?
Sure. Well, at the National Council on Aging, we've committed to improving the lives of millions of older adults. And we recognize that there are certain demographic groups that have always been left behind without the quality of years or the quantity of years that we all hope for. So we've put forward an equity promise. It's our commitment as a national organization, working with the public sector, the private sector, and the thousands of community-based organizations we partner with every day to be intentional and deliberate in targeting solutions and policy advocacy goals that will ensure women, communities of color, individuals with low income, LGBTQ, and rural populations have access to the same health and economic security that everyone deserves so that they can have the gift of longevity. We know that certain programs and certain products and policies over the years have left these individuals behind. In financial services, it's the unbanked. In the health world, it's various social determinants of health that have not been addressed. And so we've made a commitment by 2030 to improve the lives of at least 40 million older adults by calling for systemic change that will address some of these inequities. And our promise speaks to some of the strategies and policy goals and the framework that we'll be using to ensure that deliberate, intentional approach to make sure all have the opportunity to age well.
There you have it. Before we close, Ramsey, what would be your call to action for our industry, for both incumbents and startups? How can they be more intentional in serving this demographic, and what should they be doing?
Well, I echo Holly's sentiment. Make it human-centered. Use those universal design tools and frameworks. You put the individual at the center, and then you will find the pain points and the opportunities. I think about curb cuts on the sidewalk. And the approach to create curb cuts on the sidewalk were originally for older adults to help ease them in crossing the street. Yet strollers and skateboards love curb cuts too. So put the older adult of color, put the low income older adult at the center of the design process. See what they need to ensure a seamless user experience, to ride out the inevitable volatility. And you'll find what works for them will work for everyone. So use that approach, put the human at the center, and use this pandemic as an opportunity to just catapult forward a new crop of digital products and services that can help people. The new normal is being connected, and people want to have the luxury and the flexibility of using digital platforms when it works best for them. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity for fintechs to innovate and partner with new and different organizations and entities to develop relevant, timely products and services.
I love that.
I'd
Now,
love to
before
add
we close,
something, Theo.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Holly.
Sorry. No, I'd just like to add on to Ramsey that the one thing I would say is also challenge yourself as an organization to take the time to find ways to educate your customers on how to take advantage of those great products and services that you're designing. By taking the time to really educate your customers in a multimodal way so that you're addressing all types of learning, it's really worth that investment in time to help your customers sort of make that leap to find those great digital services. And we really found a lot of success in that, in taking that investment and helping our customers get online to see them.
I echo that. And I would also challenge our fintech founders to think broader. You might be creating a solution for gig economy workers, and you might have your notion of who these gig workers are. But more often than not, a growing number of these gig workers are older adults, right? So broaden your horizon and think broader the audience that you could be serving. Or you could be starting a fintech payments company that's looking at splitting the checks between friends that are going out to dinner or friends that are sharing the flat. And guess what? That solution could also be repurposed for caregivers, for adult children that are taking care of their parents. So there's so much that we can do if we're willing to open our eyes and just think broader. Now, before we close, and those who have been on my panel would know this, I have a favorite thing, a lightning round I like to do. So here you go. I would like to get 3 words from each one of you to describe the future of longevity. Holly, you want to go first? There's no right or wrong answer.
Sure. Inclusion, humanity, digital.
Ramsey?
The future of longevity, equitable, fair, and prosperous.
Love that. Now, and to quote you, Ramsey, you said aging well is a right and not a privilege. So we all have a role to play. It doesn't matter what role you hold in the financial institutions, doesn't matter if you're an incumbent or fintech startup. All of us as global citizens, we all have something that we can do to make the world better and more equitable for everyone. And thank you for all for being with us today. Stay tuned with us for the next session. So stay with us on the Impact stage and we'll see you next. Thank you so much.